Adama, then I'll weave with my dreams. Years passed as gently as thread sliding through cloth. Under Ngozi's patient eyes she learned rhythm, color, silence. But Adama's dreams were louder than any lesson. Each night she dreamt of silver rivers in the sky, and a child laughing within the moon. She told no one, for dreams are fragile things until faith gives them shape. Ngozi, never hurry the shuttle. The gods weave slowly. What if the gods want to dance? Then they'll still finish the clothes. The village gathered for harvest nights, when stories were traded like gifts and songs stitched neighbors into family. Adama brought no song, only a small cloth, the size of a breath, and placed it where the lanterns could find it. It gleams like river water. Boy, maybe it stole the moon. Adama smiles, borrowed, not stolen. A mother stepped from the edge of worry, her child fever-hot and dreaming of far places. They say your cloth holds light, she whispered. Let it hold my son. Adama wraps the child with the silvered cloth. The cloth drank his heat like the earth drinks first rain. His breathing slowed. His fingers unclenched, and somewhere above the noise of fear, a small miracle exhaled. Crowd murmured, blessing, blessing. Visuals, lanterns lifted high, elders nod, children dance in a ring around Adama's cloth. Lanterns rose like captured stars. For one night, the village remembered how to be a single heartbeat. Adama said nothing. Her smile did the speaking. Weaver Ngozi's rival apprentice, Ifunanya, studies Adama's cloth with a hard gaze. Where there is wonder, a shadow always leans in to listen. Ifunanya did not hear music in the cloth. She heard a threat. Ifunanya said to elder, cloth should not glow. Light belongs to the sky, not the loom. The sky chooses its windows. Circle of elders, masked on the wall, smoke ribboning from incense. The council gathered to weigh a miracle on a scale built for laws. If gods speak, they use priests, not thread. Or perhaps we have forgotten their new languages. Let her prove it, under watch, under oath. If proof is a bridge, I will cross it. If faith is a river, I will not drown. The council of elders decided she must weave before them at moonrise. At Market Square at night, Adama sits at a plain loom. Villagers ring the space. Ifunanya stands near a water pot. They ask the moon for a sign and set their eyes upon the earth. Adama weaves, the thread glows faintly, flickers, then dims. A cloud veils the moon. Ifunanya said aloud, you see. Tricks fail under watch. Faith is a candle. Wind loves candles. Action, Ifunanya accidentally splashes water on the warp. The glow dies. Gasp! One of the elders said, enough. Until we understand, you will not weave for the village. Adama was quiet. Understanding comes after listening. They closed their ears and called it caution. At dawn Adama packs thread, a gourd, a shawl. Ngozi places a small carved shuttle in her palm and said softly, every river begins somewhere small. Find your beginning, Adama said, I will return with a cloth they cannot deny. When a door will not open, the road becomes your hinge. Adama entered the forest where stories grow wild. Her first encounter was with the river woman. A woman of water rises waist deep, hair like currents, and the river woman said to Adama, why do you carry thunder in your chest? Adama replied and said, because I carry silence in my mouth. The river woman said, then drink. Let your silence become a song. Adama drinks. A reflection shows the moon child faintly smiling. The river teaches by reflection. We learn when we dare to look. Adama continued her journey through the forest. She encountered an old drummer beating his drum and singing, rhythm is how the heart remembers the route. Adama said to the old drummer, and if the heart is lost? The old drummer replied her and said, then let your feet keep time until it finds you. She walked to the measure of the drum and found that the world began to match her pace. Adama continued her journey. At the desert's lip, the sky felt close enough to fold. She encountered a man herding dust like goats, staff leaves silver trails. The herdsman said to her, threads break when pulled by fear. Adama replied, and when pulled by love. The herdsman smiles and replied, they become bridges. Adama slept under a bowl of stars and woke up with her down thin to lace. Dark clouds roll over the valley, wind blows the palms, the village prepares for rain. The sky returned with its old language, thunder for a noun, lightning for a verb. Adama climbs the hill above the village and sets a travel loom. Close on her hands, she lays the carved shuttle Ngozi gave her. The silver thread trembles. Some doors require 2 keys, patience, and return. Adama begins to weave. The thread ignites softly. The cloud mouth opens. Moonlight pours like water. The moon child appeared and said to Adama, you kept weaving when the loom broke. You kept walking when the road ended. Shall we finish what we started? Adama tears. Together. Light is strongest where 2 hands agree. Child places a palm over Adama's. Thread becomes a river of silver across the loom. They wove a cloth wide enough to roof the night. Every sow Adama had carried found its pattern. And every kindness she had given found its home. The mother from harvest night clutching her now healthy child, weeping. Ngozi's proud smile. If Inanya watching, shame loosening into, or if Inanya said to herself, forgive the hands that did not understand. Ngozi said, understanding is a loom. You have found it. The cloth did not end at the edge of the village. Blessing, like story, refuses fences. Adama releases the shuttle. It becomes a silver bird that circles the moon and dissolves into stars. In the morning, Adama walks back into the square. People step aside, then forward, a path opens. Elder Danladi bowed head, we weighed a miracle with stones. Teach us to weigh with light. Adama said, then sit. We will weave the new cloth together. Forgiveness is also a craft. It takes both hands. From that day, no weaver walked alone. Threads crossed like neighbors greeting at dawn. The village learned the oldest lesson, light shared grows brighter. If Yonanya offering dyed thread to Adama, for the bridges I once tried to burn. Adama accepting the thread saying, bridges remember the first foot that crosses, not the fire that tried. At night children around the fire, Adama tells a story, the moon child glows faintly in the sky above. And when the moon is round as a drum, and the wind smells of first rain, the children of Opera still hear a loom humming among the stars. They say the moon keeps a little of Adama's thread in case the night forgets its way home. Remember this. Patience is not waiting. Patience is weaving while you wait.
When the wind drags dust across Uzoki these days, it smells of grain instead of smoke. Children chase one another around the new granary, their laughter bouncing off clay walls I helped build with these same hands that once trembled for revenge. Sometimes I touch the plaster and feel the pulse of the old road beneath, the one they still call the ash road. I am an old man now. My beard has gone the color of the moon, and my anger long since turned into stories. But when I close my eyes, I still hear the drums. That night the air throbbed like the heart of a dying beast. I remember the smell of kerosene in my pocket, the matchbox sweating against my thigh, and my brother's voice echoing from a year before, broken, coughing, silenced. The fire I carried was not for light, it was for memory. I wanted the village to taste the same smoke that filled our hut when they brought his body home. The festival drums began before the moon rose. The whole square paused, torches jittered like angry stars. I stood behind the palm grove where the shadows were thick enough to hide a man and a sin. Chief Nwori sat on his lion-carved chair, belly shining with oil and pride. Around him the colonial officer sipped gin, pretending not to hear the people's hunger beneath the songs. I watched his guards, men once like me, sing, drink, forget. The moment the drums reached their ninth beat, I would crawl to the granary and set the march. One bottle, one breath, and the chief's power would crumble into ash. But hate makes time heavy. Each drumbeat stretched like rope around my chest. When the dancers whirled, I saw my brother's face among their masks. For a heartbeat I thought the dead had come to dance judgment. Then the torches flared, and the vision fled. I spat into the dust to steady my soul, and the dust spat back sparks of memory. By day our village wore hunger like a uniform. The river had cracked into scales, cassava leaves wilted before harvest. Nori's men collected tax for the district office, half the people's grain for the promise of protection none of us had seen. My mother used to say, a full stomach cannot remember mercy. I did not understand until I saw the chief's goats eat yam while children licked salt from stones. After Chuka's death, my mother's eyes dimmed. She stopped calling me Namdi, my birth name, and began calling me Nwok Oka Oku, the man of fire. I think she knew what brewed inside me. I walked by day like any man, but at night I mapped revenge in the dirt with a stick. Even the ants learned my routes. I told myself it was justice, yet every plan ended with flames, never with peace. One afternoon I saw Oga, the guard who once shared his calabash with my brother. He looked away quickly, shame or fear, I cannot tell. That look sharpened me more than hunger ever could. I swore the next festival would be their reckoning. The week before the festival, my mother fell ill. Her cough rattled like dry beans in a gourd. I wanted to buy medicine, but the trader demanded coins stamped with the queen's face, coins we no longer saw. I sold my last goat and buried the coins in her wrapper. She only smiled, thin as paper. That night she called my name softly. Ikin, Omoa, don't light the fire that will burn your own story. I told her she was dreaming, that some fires cleaned the land. She touched my cheek with the weight of forgiveness I had not yet earned. When the gods sleep, she whispered, men must guard mercy for them. Her words stayed like smoke under my skin. But hate is stubborn, it does not fear old women's prayers. I left before dawn, promising to return with healing herbs from the catechist who wandered between villages. In truth, I went to find kerosene. The catechist, Papa Oak, found me on the edge of the bush path. His cassock was mended with more thread than cloth, and his walking stick hummed like a story ready to begin. He asked for water, I gave him palm wine. He tasted it, smiled, and said, the same sweetness can heal or burn. I laughed. Mine will burn. He studied my face as if reading a page already written. Then he told me a parable. A hawk saw its shadow on the ground and thought it was another hawk stealing its sky. It fought the shadow until it tore its own breast, and the sky wept feathers. He tapped my chest. Be careful which shadow you fight, son. I told him about the chief, about Chuka, about justice wrapped in fire. He listened without blinking. Then he said quietly, if your fire burns the house, will you be warm or homeless? I wanted to call him a coward, but his words settled in me like small seeds hiding from rain. That night I could feel the matchbox breathing. Each step toward the square made it heavier, as if it carried every grave I had ever dug inside my heart. The moon was a dull coin above the pumps. From far away came laughter, flutes, the clatter of gods. The festival had begun. I hid behind the granary wall. The chief's courtyard glowed with lanterns, the colonial officers' laughter scratched the night. I uncorked the bottle of kerosene. The smell was sharp, like truth. I saw my reflection in the oily surface, eyes red, jaw tight, and for a heartbeat I thought it was my brother staring back, daring me to finish what he could not. My hand trembled. Somewhere a masquerade screamed, somewhere my mother coughed. The two sounds twisted together until I could not tell them apart. Then I struck the match. But a cough, not mine, answered from behind the wall. A child's cough. Thin. Wet. Human. The flame shrank. I turned. She sat cold beside a small sack of grain, head resting on her knees, breathing in tiny hiccups. The lamplight touched her face, fever-bright eyes, cheeks hollow as shells. I knelt. Why are you here, little one? She blinked, unsure if I was ghost or man. Mama said guard our sack. If I sleep, rats will eat. Her voice scraped like sand. She lifted the rope, an old woman's head tie I recognized from my mother's washing line. I looked toward the square. Her mother was among the dancers, forced to clap for the man who stole her harvest. The fire in my matchbox felt suddenly stupid, like a child's threat against a storm. If I burned this granary, this girl would burn first. I poured the kerosene back into its tin and sat beside her. She leaned against me without fear. For a long time, we just breathed. Her fever heat soaked into my arm, turning vengeance into something smaller, sadder, human. When she slept, I whispered, "Sleep, little seed. The fire can wait." Dawn was still hours away when the drumming changed, louder, faster. Masks spun, torches rose. I carried the sack into the square. The chief's laughter cracked like dry wood when he saw me. "Thief," he spat. "You again." I lifted the sack high so all could see the rope. "This belongs to her," I said, pointing to the girl's mother in the crowd. "You took it, called it tribute. But tonight the house you built on hunger will face the hungry." Gasps. The colonial officer shifted in his chair. Oga, the guard, froze. "Arrest him," the chief barked. Oga stepped forward, baton loose. Then, so quietly only I heard, he said, "If I take you, they will call you a thief. If you run, they will call you a coward. Kneel, brother. Let them see what true law looks like." I didn't understand until I saw the child's mother trembling, her hands empty. I placed the sack before her, sank to my knees, and bowed until my forehead touched the dust. "I came to burn your house," I said. "But I found a sleeper inside. Forgive me." The crowd hushed. Even the drums forgot their rhythm. Papa Oak's voice rose from somewhere unseen, "A fire set for a thief will also cook a child." Mama swelled into cries, into stories, into courage. And I knelt there, realizing the match in my pocket had always been a mirror, showing me who I was, not who I hated. At first light the square looked like a battlefield that had forgotten to bleed. Torches lay on their sides, masks slept in the dust, and ash from last night's cooking fires drew thin grey rings around our footprints. The lion chair seemed smaller under daybreak, its carved teeth dull as old gossip. I did not sleep. I sat near the granary door with the fever girl's head on my lap and listened to a village breathe through its nose like a tired animal. Oga stood a few paces off, arms folded, batting nowhere. When he met my eye he gave the smallest nod, the kind men offer when they cannot yet speak without breaking. Mothers came first. They brought water in calabashes and stories on their tongues. One lifted her wrapper to show a welting stripe from last month's fine. Another held up a bowl with 3 kernels of maize and said, "This is what law left us." No one looked at the lion chair. It was as if the sun itself refused to shine there. Papa Oak gathered the children in a circle and told them to count stones, not for throwing, he said, for building. Men arrived with hoes, not machetes. Women brought ropes of headscarves, the same kind that tied the little girl's sack. Somewhere a rooster crowed late, embarrassed to be part of our miracle. Chief Nwori stormed from his courtyard sputtering words that could not stand up to daylight. The district officer wrung his heart, promising investigations that sounded like rain that never falls. But the square had changed shape overnight, it no longer had room for a single chair that called itself a throne. I kissed the girl's forehead and found it cooler. "You will eat today," I told her. She did not answer, but her fingers unclenched from their fist around the rope. We began with mud. It is always mud that makes a village honest. Clay from the riverbed, straw from the broken roofs, water from the 3 jars the girls hauled laughing as if laughter itself were a tool. We slapped the mixture onto the skeleton of sticks Oga and I had lashed together. It held like a promise. By noon my shoulders burned and my palms were raw. I did not mind. Each smear of clay felt like writing a new law where my anger once scrawled curses. The fever girl's mother, her name was Nena, walked beside me without looking at the chief's courtyard once. When I faltered, she handed me water. When she faltered, I steadied the ladder. Mercy is like that, it needs 2 hands even when they belong to strangers. Word spread faster than gossip. Farmers from the edges of Uzoki came with little, half sacks, handfuls, saying, "Store this until the lean months." A widow brought dried okra and cried when she set it down, not because it was much but because it was the first thing no one had taken from her in years. Oga stood up on the rising wall and called to the crowd. If a man brings food today, no one asks whose field grew it. If a woman takes food tomorrow, no one asks whose belly deserves it. We are done counting like the chief counts. He looked at me when he said it, and I understood he was laying down more than a baton. Papa Oak painted a sign over the arch with red clay and ash, common granary. Then he urged me to add a second line. My hands shook as I wrote, redemption begins when hatred ends. The letters were crooked. I did not correct them. Truth does not need straight lines to stand. That afternoon a quiet settled, the quiet of tired muscles and full hearts. Even the goats seemed to walk softer. Somewhere behind us, the lion chair scraped as men carried it back into shadow. Power had learned to whisper. Near sunset the district officer returned with papers that flapped like frightened birds. He announced a hearing, an audit, a procedure with many English words that could not find the path to our square. We listened the way one listens to a distant storm, out of courtesy. Then Nene stepped forward and placed the girl's hand in mine. She ate, Nene said, as if that were a verdict. The officer blushed at a language he could not translate. Chief Nori tried one last smile, the kind that had charmed and caught us for years. Mothers turned away from it like from a bad smell. Oga spoke for the guards, we would not lift a hand against a law that feeds children. The officer realized he would have to write a different report than he had planned. He folded his papers, suddenly very small under our sky. That night I sat with my mother outside our compound. The moon was a tin bowl, the kind used to pour libations. She sipped her herbs and watched my hands the way mothers do when they are counting blessings in secret. Your fire? She asked. I poured it back, I said. And are you warm? I looked toward the granary where a lantern burned soft behind the clay, a heartbeat inside a new body. Yes, Mama. I am warm. She smiled then, and for the first time since Chuka's death her smile reached all the way to the corners of her eyes. We did not say my brother's name. We let the night hold it. Before I slept I walked the ash road alone. The dust rose at my ankles like old ghosts reluctant to follow me home. I knelt where the granary wall curved, pressed my palm to the clay, and felt a coolness that had nothing to do with wind. Some prayers are not words, they are decisions that refuse to undo themselves. Years have passed. Children who learned to count by carrying stones now trade jokes with their own sons as they stack baskets during harvest. The fever girl runs faster than anyone and argues loudly when she measures millet. Nena laughs and tells her to be gentle with the scale of justice. Oga farms more than he guards and has a scar where a button used to be, he says it itches only when he lies. As for me, I am an old man who still wakes sometimes expecting smoke in his throat. I walk to the granary in those hours and lay my hand on the wall. It is smoother now from 1,000 palms, warmer from 1,000 meals. I whisper to my brother, not with grief but with gratitude, Chuka, we did not burn them. We fed them, so they could no longer be used to starve us. People still come to ask for advice, as if I kept wisdom in a jar on a shelf. I tell them the only truth I own, hate is a match that burns the hand first. If you must carry fire, carry the kind that cooks yam and softens meat. Carry the kind that lights doorways, not the kind that locks them. Sometimes, on festival nights, the drums start up, joyful now, not sharp, and I sit with Papa Oak, older than before but still smiling like a man who trusts it. He leans close and says, the hawk learned to fly with its shadow after all. I laugh. We both look at the arch where the words have faded and been repainted by many hands. The letters are still crooked. I pray they always will be. The children call the path to the granary the ash road, but none of them remember why. That is how you know a village has healed, the name remains, the wound does not. If I have any legacy, let it be that. And this, when the moon is thin and the air smells of grain, sit with your anger until you can feel the sleepers in the house you wanted to burn. Then choose a different story. Because redemption begins when hatred ends. And some fires, even now, still light the way home.